I think it's important that we recognize that there's a lot of good teams out there, and there are times when I felt like we deserved a #1 seed by our wins and record and who we beaten, and didn't pan out that way. And this year it did. And when you break it all down, over the next 3 weeks, if you're fortunate enough to play all 3 weeks, you have to beat the best teams. Doesn't matter whether you're 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever you are. You know. And as far as who we're playing Saturday, just like most times in the NCAA tournament, the teams that you get if you are a 1 seed are teams that you're going to have to hurry up and find out a lot about. And you know, we'll be doing that tonight and tomorrow, obviously. But it's you know, you look at it and you know, there's some teams in there we've already played or just recently played, and like everybody's going to go in front of the media and go, our bracket's the toughest. I can't believe who our matchups are, and it's just pointless.
So what do you like most about your team as you're headed into the tournament?
I know. I mean, knock on wood, we're healthy, fairly healthy. We're coming off a a really good tournament. We're able to have a couple days off this week, so we got a chance to rest and get even healthier if we could. And the fact that we haven't varied that much from November to the tournament last week. We pretty much stayed at a certain level. No team is going to be perfect. For 4 months, 5 months, but we've been pretty consistent during all that time, and I think our team has great confidence in what we've been able to do.
Sharing a region with Shea and her team. What was it like seeing them end up as the 2?
Yeah, I don't know what to make of that, to be honest with you. Only because I haven't looked at it close enough, but the way it was explained to me, that would be like they are the number 8 team in the country. I find that hard to believe. So I hope there weren't. I hope if it's true, great. Then it is what it is. If they were put there for the storyline, or they were put there because you can't have 2 teams from the same conference, which is bullshit, because they should be able to play. They can play in the final 8 game if you're from the same conference. So hopefully they were put there because that's where they deserve to be, not because of some ulterior motive that let's get this. Oh, wouldn't this be really cool? That would be disrespectful to Vanderbilt and to Shea. So I have to do a little bit more digging on that. I'm really proud of her. I mean, she's Coach of the Year in the country. Unbelievable what they've done, so I'm, kind of, yay! I'm really happy for Shea. Sucks for us and for them, that. Now, having said that, at the same time, they got a tough road to get to us, and we don't necessarily have an easy road either to get to them. So a lot has to happen between now and then, and that's why you play the games.
12 days off. Is it all good between playing in the Big East final and on Saturday? Is there any sort of negative or anything you have to watch out for with such a long break?
I think ideally, if you could do it, you would want to be finishing Saturday or today. That would be ideal. And then you've got a week to. Now, if you've got somebody that's coming off some injury and something's bothering them and you want time to get them back, then it's great. If you are playing poorly and you want to have a little bit of a reset, then it's great. If you're playing great, you want to just keep playing right away. So it helps some teams, it hinders some teams because it puts a little, speed bump on the way to where you're going. But, we've been down this road 35 years or whatever it is, and we kind of navigate it pretty well. Works sometimes better than others.
Geno, Azie's heading into her last NCAA tournament. She's dominated some, she's missed some. How do you hope she's kind of viewing and embracing this opportunity as her last go around?
I've said this a lot, players, players are people, and people are human, and they're affected by emotions in many different ways. So there's, I'm sure, a part of AZ that's unbelievably excited that, it's her last chance to get another national championship, another Final Four, another, incredible run. And I'm sure there's a tremendous amount of excitement there. And at the same time, there's also I can't believe this is my last time. And you don't know how those emotions affect it. For some, it's perfect. That's just what they need to get. And others, I don't know. I've seen it go both ways, but knowing what Azie's been through, what she's had to go through all these years, I would think she sees this as a kind of, I deserve this. After what I've been through, she may have been to other Final Fours before last year, but none of them where she played a big part. None of them where she was able to be 100% healthy all year long.
You talked after the Big East tournament about how some players get to experience things for the first time. Sarah Williams, NCAA tournament for the first time. Do you think she's ready for this? I mean, she certainly played well for most of the Big East tournament.
I mean, you don't know, you don't know. All you do is go in and play, try to play the best that you can, try to figure out what does your team need during that time. I think the role that she's playing is different than last year. Blanca's in the same situation, This is her first time playing in an NCAA tournament. This is the first time Heckle's playing in the NCAA tournament for us. So there's a lot going on, and for these guys, this is the first NCAA tournament they're playing without Paige. So there's a lot of first times. There's a lot of first things that are going to happen in this tournament, and that's what's the beauty of it. Let's see how it all plays out.
A lot of your veterans have talked about having more confidence this year with the sort of understanding that they've been here before, they know what it takes to go all the way to a championship. Are there things from that run last year that you hope that they carry over into this year? Are there applicable lessons?
They really said that? They're more confident than they were last year at this time. Never cease to amaze me. And the reason I say that is because if they are saying that, and they actually mean that, and there's no reason to doubt that they don't mean it, but if they actually say that and they mean that's probably the one thing that will separate you from everyone else if you get to the point where everything's equal. And that's usually, the last 3 games of the year you have to win. Things are kind of equal. And then a team that plays with the utmost confidence, belief in themselves, has a pretty good chance to win. So if they feel that way, then it means they'll act that way. And that's really a good sign going in. We've tried really hard the last 2 weeks to make sure that we tap into that confidence to build it even higher, give them even more reasons to be confident. There are a couple of days this week when maybe I put a little bit of a dent in that confidence, but overall, I'm glad that they're talking like that. I think that's a great mindset to have.
You're skeptical, are you not seeing that necessarily?
Am I skeptical? Nah, I'm not. I'm not anything. I'm not skeptical. I'm not anything. I think I don't like to put myself where I'm taking anything for granted. I don't like to put myself in a situation where I'm thinking, oh yeah, because we were there last year and because we won the whole thing last year, man, that makes me feel like $1 million. Like I don't like to go there. So I just look at them and I'm glad they feel that way. Let's put it that way. I think that's great. I do. I think that's great. And I think kids are kids, right? So they probably look at the brackets and they look at everybody and they probably think, we can beat all these guys easy. They don't finish the sentence though. They don't realize that there's a bunch of teams that could beat us. So that's my job, So I go into it that way. Man, that's a tough matchup. That's a tough matchup. That's a tough matchup. But I do agree with them on one thing. There isn't anybody in this tournament we can't beat. So that's a good thing.
How much do you follow their lead sometimes in the way that they're feeling?
Coaches and players, you spend a lot of time with your team. And they do feed off of your approach, your emotions, how you think, how you feel, how you communicate with them, your body language, your attitude towards everything, They feed off of that. And we as coaches, we feed off of theirs. So it's kind of like a mutual thing. And there are times when you go into practice or you're in game mode and you're waiting for a sign from them that they got this. And sometimes I'll ask them, we good? And I'll ask the right ones that'll be honest with me. And when they say, yeah, we got this, then it makes you go, whew. It doesn't relieve your anxiety, but it helps, And they're looking at you for the same thing. Hey, coach, we got this, right? Yeah. So, yeah, what we do as coaches really affects them, and what they do really affects us.
Geno, I don't know what else you could say about Sarah Strong, but how do you motivate her compared to motivating a Diana, a Stewie, a Maya, a Paige? Does she need much push?
They all do, different ways, but they all do. They all want it. Like nobody comes here and goes, Coach, don't worry, you don't have to coach me. You don't have to do anything. Just let me play. I have had some players that very, 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 very independently go through here without. You would think they need nothing from you. They got it. They're self-motivated. But even at the same time, you have to find ways to get them to another gear. And that just takes studying them and paying attention to what makes them tick. So it's funny you say that about Sarah. If you get a chance to talk to her, ask her. I tried to motivate her yesterday. I think I did a pretty good job. I tried to motivate her in one of the games at the
People Bank.
No, at Mohegan. Yeah. So, just in the last couple of weeks, I've used some motivational techniques on Sarah.
Do you feel like there's extra pressure or extra stakes, considering if you guys win this go-around, it would be back-to-back titles? That hasn't happened without a decade. Or do you feel like it's more about the players at this point?
It's always about the players. I think as a coaching staff, as a coach, you're not going in there thinking that you can, be a puppet master and move these things around to your liking and make them do and say and act the way you want them to. You just don't have the ability to do that. So what you do is you come here and you practice every day, you try to put things together, turn them loose, let them go play, and then see what happens. The idea, if it's there, of, oh man, pressure to win back-to-back championships. Most people that play college basketball don't deserve one. What makes you think you deserve two? So I think winning for this year's team is probably their biggest motivator. And pressure's here every day, whether it's NCAA tournament or we're playing a regular season game. The pressure's here is always present, always around. And like I talk to my players, if you're the better team, there's really no pressure on you. The pressure's on the team that knows you're way better than them and they have to try to beat you. So some people, misconstrue what pressure is.
Coach, what are your thoughts on seeing Fairfield on the other side of the bracket and they've got this matchup there with Notre Dame?
I've thought all along, last season, this season, that teams like Fairfield, Princeton, Richmond, teams that I've seen, are the kind of teams that you're not excited about playing them in the NCAA tournament because you probably haven't seen much of them, and they're really good, and they manage to play some teams outside their league that are really good, and they're always way better than you think they're going to be. And I think Harley's done an amazing job down there. I really do. I think she's one of the best jobs in the country the last 3 or 4 years, for sure.
Coach, this time of year, the announcement of the teams in the tournament is really a big celebration. What was the energy like for your team?
Yeah, I think they get excited when the early on, when they see themselves when it first pops up on the screen, they get all excited and jump up and down. And that lasts about 10 seconds, and then they just sit there and stare at the TV, kind of like teenagers, And some of that's good, and some of that is like, come on, But it's like we were just talking about. Yeah, this is what we do, man. Like, this is what we do, and I don't know like I said, I don't know what to make of that. I think they're very locked in to what they're doing. But you could see they're ready.
When was the last time you had a team entering March Madness just at this level I don't want to say calmness, at this level of just, readiness?
I think last year was like that. And before that, probably when Feast and Lou and Gabby, that crew was here. I think since then it's been holding it together with duct tape, keep your fingers crossed, hope we can do something. Last year was the first time since those years when we knew how good we were. And last year was obviously a magical year for these kids, and some of them are back, obviously, and every kid's dream, playing the Final Four. And I'm sure it never gets old, no matter how many times you've been there.
Geno, if Sarah Williams plays at her best, what does she give you in the tournament?
Well, as we saw last year when we played UCLA and South Carolina, and actually Oklahoma too. There's going to be kids in the tournament that you're going to have to figure out how to defend, and I would think that between her and Jenna, we can figure out ways to neutralize some of the teams that we might have to play in the tournament. I don't think you can go at it with just one person. So having someone that has the ability to do those things, though she had a great second half in the Tennessee game, and they had some big bodies that she had to guard. So between her and Geno, I think that's the big key. That's what we're going to need from them.
First time in 4 years not having to go west. If you guys make it to the regional, are your thoughts remain the same on the two-side system?
Well, I mean, we're kind of going west. I think I'm not a big fan of the two regional sites. I think it eliminates half the country. There's no place you can go to watch women's college basketball in the regionals east of the Mississippi River. It's just kind of stupid. So, you know, you go where you're supposed to go, where they tell you to go, and you know, we don't put too much stock in it. If you think about this, these travel plans are in the future. You know, right now, you know, you just close your eyes and you're thinking, all right, we got to play really well this weekend, and then if we do, we got to get on a plane and go to Fort Worth, and we got to play really well there, and then we go to Phoenix. So you worry about this weekend first. How could it be worse than last year when we go from Spokane to Tacoma? You know, I don't think you could find two more, you know, far away place. So we've experienced all of it. We don't talk about that stuff. When do we play? Where do we play? Who do we play? That's all we care about.